Hello, I'm Sally, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Sally Wright. And I've got the little yellow rose in the corner. Um, I'm going to start a sponge for a chocolate cake. A sourdough chocolate cake. I have my Cambro. This is a smaller one, actually. This one goes to up here. I hope you can see that. Let me try to get that in. This one goes to 4 liters to the top, 4 quarts, which is a little less than 4 liters. And I wanted the big one. I was at Sam's and I saw these. These were the biggest they had. But, you know, most of my recipes I half batch anyway, so I really don't need that much. I'm going to start out with 2 cups all-purpose unbleached flour. And yes, I'm going to get in here in my bag of flour. I got a new bag. And I'm getting flour everywhere. Go ahead and turn this around so. But let me kind of fluff this where it's not all packed. With kind of stir it around. Okay. Move that over. Tap it. Just tap it to settle any little pockets of flour that might be in there. Running a straight back knife across the top. That's 1. Where's my recipe here? 2 cups flour. And it's going in my Cambro. Nope. Okay. Back to my plate. Get this. Get this like that. Get in all those little pockets. Tap it. Go straight across. That's 2 cups of flour. Now the rest of this, I'm not going to need any for what I call adjustments. And when I say this is what I call it, usually that's not the actual name or label of what I'm doing. Now to save room, I'm going to go ahead and put this back, put my bag of flour back. And I'm moving around in my kitchen here. But a lot of times when I say this is what I call it, or this is what I think of it, usually it's when I really don't know the name or technique of something. But this is what I call it. Usually that's what I mean when I say that. Okay. I've got some milk. I find my husband can drink this. This is actually whole milk. And I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. And this milk actually has bits of cream in it. And my husband loves it. But I want to find my small strainer. I don't know where anything is around here. I can use this. But I need 1 cup. I think 1 cup of milk. Yes, 1 cup of milk. But this will have bits of cream run it through my coffee strainer here. And that's glass. That is one heaping. Hopefully I can get it from point A to point B without spilling it all over the place. Perfect. Oh, perfect. I didn't have, and really, there might be bits of cream in there, but it didn't do what I was thinking it would do. I'm going to go ahead and put my milk back in the fridge. And they're just better. My husband can drink a glass of milk and it doesn't seem to give him a headache. A lot of times, and he loves milk. So I buy them when I can find them. And then, let's see, 1 cup sourdough discard. This is my discard here. Very rich. And I usually use a little bit less than what the recipe calls for because my discard is built up over time and usually a little more dense. So if it calls for a cup, I usually use like maybe 3/4 of a cup. And I'm just going to go ahead, and use this. Maybe a little less than a cup. And for one thing, this really needs to be used up. Let's see, let me get a paper towel here, get that edge. That's a cup, but it's just a scant less than a cup. Go ahead and pour that in there. It's really rich. But that comes from feeding my sourdough starter every day and mixing it. Now, this had actually sat. I did not add to it, and it sit in my fridge for about a week, so it really needs to be used up. And I'm going to try to stir this up and make it into like really smooth and creamy, but yet doughy, like a batter. And this will make a sponge. This sits for about maybe like 2.5 to 3 hours, depending. And since no, I did not start with the liquid this time. And I usually don't, although professional cooking, you're supposed to start with your liquids. I usually don't, so I can reuse the cup. I use the dry ingredients first, and then I'm able to use the cup for everything else. Whereas if I start with the wet ingredients first, that's the professional way to do it. Now there's no oil or salt or sugar, nothing in here like that. Let me move this plate because with my klutzy self, and I'm going to get a bigger, actually I'm going to use, my dough whisk. And stuff like this for like stiff batters and soft doughs. This is what I actually bought this for. This is a very stiff dough. But this will sit and ferment I might add a little bit more more milk. As a matter of fact, I think I will. I'll add a splash more milk to this, I think. It's just really stiff. I wasn't expecting it to be that stiff. I was expecting it to be, this is an actual dough. I was expecting it to be more batter-like. I hope you can see that. That's like a dough. And yeah, I'm going to add a little bit of milk to that and get that bottom wet. But I don't want to add much. I'm going to add to my cup first. That way I don't lose control of that big bottle and get this on the bottom. Let me see. I'm going to get those dry streaks. Get a little bit more. I don't want to add more sourdough starter to it. Just get that flour wet. And the dough is just very hard to work with, so get that mixed on the bottom. I hope this turns out. This is not what I was expecting, but it's I would love this for a loaf sponge. This would make a perfect loaf sponge, but this is for cake. So, and I want to make sure and get all the bits of the bottom. And I wanted to clarify, hopefully I can get the sentence out. Okay, it was on another video. I think it was on baked chicken and cabbage. The one I did for baked chicken and cabbage. I mentioned something about professional cooking and didn't finish the sentence. And I wanted to clarify, I am not a professional cook. And I was going to finish that sentence. I'm going to go ahead. That's my dough. That's my sponge for my chocolate cake later. I'm just going to put the lid on this. And I'm really liking these Cambros. They have a handle. They have handles on the side. And they have these lids. If I can get it to seal. Well, I thought the lid, yes, the lid has a little, let's see. The lid has a little tab. You just lift up on it. Well, I don't know. That's pretty stiff. But these are new, so they're probably there. I can open it like that. And then reseal it. I'm going to set my timer for 2.5 hours. And by the time I make the second part of this should be ready to go. But I need to use up my sourdough starter. And I keep saying I'm going to make banana bread. I buy the bananas and they're really overripe and I really don't want to use them. And I'm going to add this. Let's see. Move this over and down. That's my discard. I will add that. I'm going to put this in a clean container. And I need to wash a container. But I move that over. Start running water. Put this in the trash. Oh yeah, what I was saying about the professional cook thing. when you add seasonings and spices to what you're making or to your dish, usually everything's in its own separate little containers, little bowls, or I don't know, almost like canisters, but they're small, like small canisters. And each thing, you grab just a pinch of it off the top and sprinkle it over the top of your food, and to season meat or savory dishes, or stuff like that. Now, in baking, you measure everything out and put it into a bowl or container, kind of like I did with this, but I still really didn't do it professionally. But that's the difference. And yes, I have sourdough masterclass cookbooks. I have I've had to bake bread before, and I've had to mix ingredients for large batches of bread or rolls. Like in a school cafeteria, I've actually done that. But I am not a professional cook, and I'm afraid to try certain recipes. You can look at that. I'm kind of afraid to try certain recipes for sourdough, or just the master class recipes, like for brioche, or see what's another one, the specialty breads and rolls, like croissants, original croissants. I'm kind of chicken to try those, because I'm afraid they would flop big time. And I'm afraid to try them. And these are recipes that would probably require a kitchen scale more than cups and tablespoons. But also too, the brioche is so messy. I don't like messy, sticky doughs that you have to work with in order to put them together. I do not like to lose control on a dough, especially. And I think that's part of my OCD. That's part of my control issues. And I feel like everything else in my life is just going to fall apart. And that's just nuts. I know that's just nuts, but that's kind of the way my mind works, especially after I broke my neck. And, oh yeah, I forgot. I started this little loaf. This is a half batch of my half batch, so it's like a quarter batch. And I started this little ball of dough, and maybe in a couple hours, got a little air bubble there. Maybe in a couple hours, I'll bake this. So, but it's a really small dough. I'm just going to bake it and see what it does. But I wanted to show you this, and also I wanted to explain. I said something about professional cooking, and I just want you to know I am not a professional cook. I don't do anything right. I used to drive my inspectors insane when I worked at restaurants. I drove them crazy. I drive people up the wall because I do everything wrong. But it is what it is, and it seems to work for me. So, and everybody has their own way of doing things. Everybody has a space and an energy in their kitchen, especially if they like to cook and bake. Everybody's got their own ways of doing things. Well, I've rambled on long enough. I just wanted to explain I am not a professional cook. And I do not, that's my discard. I need to put this in a clean container and put it back in the fridge. This is my this is my sponge for my chocolate cake later. And yes, trying to put the rest of the ingredients, which is sugar, eggs, vanilla, cocoa powder, and seems like there's something else in it, but I can't remember what it was. I can't remember if there's more milk in it. Wait a minute, I got my recipe right here. It's going to be vanilla, salt, wait a minute, sugar, oil. So, sugar, oil, vanilla, salt, baking soda, and cocoa powder. And then you mix all that together and then add 2 eggs, mix all this into a smooth batter, and then you combine the 2 batters. You combine the second batter with the first batter, and you mix it till it's thoroughly mixed. And I watched the video on it, and it's going to be a mess. And, you know, I'm probably gonna have a terrible time with it, but I will get it done. So, and now this says, unless I got that wrong, you preheat your oven to 350 degrees and bake for 30 to 40 minutes, and it's in a large flat cake pan. I think by 9 by 13, but I didn't write that down. So we're gonna hopefully I will be back in a couple of hours and show you how everything's doing. Well, thank you for watching, and you have a wonderful day.